You know, for me, the best thing that could ever happen to me is going to Europe. I learned how to be more independent. You know, I learned how to suffer. You know, not knowing the language, for example, in Spain, having even to learn to cook from YouTube. All these things.
Nice one.
Not just
Nasi goreng? Nasi goreng in Spain?
pasta. I actually just made pasta. I didn't even know. Believe me, Mark. I mean, like, you know, in Indonesia, sometimes we have helpers and everything to cook for us, but and even my parents, you know, my mom would cook for me here, but I would never cook in my life. But having to go there, even cooking pasta, I didn't know how to do it. But it's not just improving yourself as a football player, but it's all these life skills that you learn, you know, from out of your comfort zone.
So, guys, today I'm having the only Chinese-Indonesian player in Liga 1 with me. He's currently playing for Sleman, left back, been to Europe, have played in many Indonesian clubs, have played in some European clubs, has got a lot of experience in this league, still only 27, if I'm correct.
Correct.
Arthur, thank you for joining.
Man, it's a pleasure. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me. I've seen your podcast with Irawan also, super cool. So, no, I'm glad to be here, you know. And, you know, you're my brother too. So, of course, anytime I get to talk to you, it'd be great. So
Nice. So now it's your turn to inspire people, inspire the next generation. We spoke a little bit before this podcast about your journey, and it inspired me a lot. And I think that while having that conversation, I thought you could inspire a lot of people. So that's why I invited you as well. That's the reason of this podcast, just to motivate people and bring positivity.
Of course. No, it's great. You know, I think you're also inspiring a lot of people. You know, not just myself, but a lot of other kids also, and people who want to be footballers, but not necessarily that. Just to be a good human being. That's, I think, the most important. Because for me, you know, being a footballer, you have to be able to give back, because you're a public figure. You have a voice, and my angle is always that, look, okay, we of course we have to play well, we have to train, we have to do all the stuff that a professional footballer would do. But what I like is that the fact that we have a voice, we should do something good with it. And I think that's what you're doing also, which is great with Project Nasi, you know, and I see you giving back to charity. So that's something that I respect a lot from your part, and something that I look to do as well myself. So I think we talked a lot about that. So,
True.
You know, I guess it's just the same. It's the fact that, you know, you should be football is a lifestyle. It's on and off the field, not just the professionalism. But for us, I think we like that philanthropical lifestyle where you also give back to the community, you know, because you have that voice.
Exactly. And I think we should raise that whenever we have the chance.
Correct.
First question, when did you start to learn football? And was there any family member who support you to become a football player?
Yo, this is a long story, but I guess we have time. So I actually started playing football when I was 8 years old. I played basketball before. The first time I played sports was basically my uncle. He went to school in America. He came back, and then of course, soccer is not that famous, right? It's more basketball, American football, etc. So I learned how to play basketball first. That was essentially the first sport I played. I went to a new school in Jakarta, basically, and then I remember that time they didn't have a gym, but everyone was playing football. So I just tried. Very bad at first, of course. As an 8-year-old, you don't know how to kick the ball. But somehow, after a year or two, just keeping at it, you know, it came quite naturally to me. I think I'm a decent athlete, so I think in the end, that's when it started, really. You know, at 8 years old to play. But if you talk about any of my family members being athletes, I would say zero. I don't come from a family of athletes. I'm the only one, essentially. So yeah, and I think we can get into that later, you know, about the family supporting me to play football.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a complicated situation, and right, but 8 was basically when I started playing football first, and of course I became professional when I was in Spain.
Did any of your family members supported you to become a football player or become an athlete in general?
I think also being Chinese Indonesian, as my heritage is, I don't think you get a lot of Chinese Indonesian athletes. Like you mentioned, I'm the only one in Liga 1 now playing football. And because it's something that is completely different from what my society would normally do. They're mostly entrepreneurs. They mostly are into more business. But I chose the path of football because for me, it's my passion. I love the game. And I love having that voice, to not just about making the money, but having that voice to give back and to educate the younger generation, to do good things and give back to actually charity, So I think that's the type of person I am. So that's why I think football was great for me in that sense. But having said that, I think at an early age, my parents, my family didn't really support it because it's not their fault too, because maybe they're not educated about a footballer's life or an athlete's life. It's something completely out of the norm for them, right? So
yeah,
of course, they at first it was a bit of a resistance, and it wasn't easy to come to terms with it. But in the end, I thank my parents and my family, mostly my parents, because they're the ones who eventually let me pursue my career because they know it's my passion. They know that I love it. And once I've got that first professional contract, I think that's when they were like, okay, look, you can actually make a career out of this. You can actually, get paid in the end. So yeah. I think after that, they've been nothing but supportive since. So it's been great. So I think long story short is basically, I had to prove to them also that, look, football can be a career. It's completely different from your careers or the family business or anything. But essentially, I can make my own living and my own career out of this. So when that happened, I think they're 100% behind me now, and I would say that they're my number one supporters. Through the good times and the bad times. So I'm blessed and thankful for that. Yeah.
Nice, very nice. As you mentioned, maybe it's a bit different in your culture. Yeah. In the Chinese Indonesian culture, that's more into entrepreneur life for most people. You come from a wealthy family yourself. Wealthy kid, rich kid, people might say. Yeah. Growing up in Indonesia, do you think that was a privilege, or do you think that came also with limitations to make your dream come true as a football player?
Of course, I think first, I'm always proud of who I am and what I have. For me, it's a blessing from God also. There's a lot of underprivileged kids that are not in my position, and for me, I have to be thankful for that. And with my position, I have to be able. That's why I have that mentality to give back, because I feel like everyone deserves a chance in life, in everything in general. So, but of course, I feel like the general gist of things in Indonesia, they still have the mentality that as a football player, you have to come from let's say less fortunate background, and if you come from a quite an established background already, that the question is, why are you playing football? But for me, that shouldn't be the case, because the beautiful thing about football is that everyone can play it or do it, white, black, Asian, Latina. So for me, it's a very diverse sports that lets everyone come together. And the same thing, not just for races, now we talk about there's a Black Lives Matter movement, which is great. I think that football should be played by everyone, but not just the color of your skin, but also where you come from. Essentially, your social economic status, whether you're underprivileged or come from an established family. So I think football is made for everyone. And of course, I'm also a normal football player, and I want to make as much money as I can in my sport. But what drives me is not the money necessarily, it's the passion, like I said, because to have that voice also, to be able to give back, to be able to, like what you're doing, to inspire the younger generation. So that's my drive to be the best footballer I can. So I think in Indonesia, it's not there yet, but it's getting there. I think it's much better now. Everything takes process, where maybe in Europe, it's already getting to that stage where, look, anyone can play football, and football is considered a quality job. Let's put it that way, So again, coming from that side, that everyone can play football. I don't even look at myself as a Chinese Indonesian, because same for you. You're Dutch, but you have an Indonesian passport, which is fantastic. And I look at you as an Indonesian now, because I may have a Chinese heritage, you have a Dutch heritage, but essentially we want to play for Indonesia. We want to do good for Indonesian football. So I don't really want to look at color, race, or you would say wealth. The most important is if you have that motivation to actually do good for it. Exactly. Exactly. It's all about the passion, what you mentioned, and I think that should be the main drive in every kid's career or dream. Yeah. In your history to become
a football player with your passion, did you face any kind of racism along your journey in Europe or in Indonesia?
Of course, I think I mean, not just football, but I think in any walk of life, there was always going to be that issue a bit. But when I was in Europe then, they always think that, do they play? I mean, not to be rude, but it's a fact. Do they play football in Indonesia? Because we're not so well known as a footballing country yet in Europe. Maybe you understand this because you played there before, and they would say, automatically, if you're Brazilian, you're a skillful player. You know, you have a lot of talent. Oh, you're German. That means you're a hard worker. But you're Indonesian. You play football. You understand? So that was more of my challenge, and it wasn't necessarily that they're racist towards Asians or Indonesians. This just for them, it's unheard of that an Indonesian player is playing in Europe. But I'm happy now, with the situation of Bagus also, that he's able to go there, and there's more players that are playing in Europe, so that's fantastic. But the obstacle was basically, having to prove myself more than any other player, because automatically, if you're Brazilian, they think you have quality, and they already have that perspective of you when they see you train or anything. But as Indonesian, you really have to start from zero. You actually have to prove yourself more than the other players. So I think the obstacle was more in that sense. And of course, coming back to Indonesia for me, it was that challenge of having been with a privileged family, having come from a privileged family, and they would think, why is he playing football? Because it's out of the norm, So of course, I faced those obstacles in my life, but I wouldn't change anything, because for me, those obstacles have made me tougher mentally, as a football player, as a person. And, what I want to say is basically, I want to be the pioneer to say that, look, football is for everyone, and for all other kids who are maybe with a Chinese heritage or are more privileged, why not? You can be a football player. There is nothing wrong with that. And for the football community, if you have a wider range of the types of footballers you can accept, of course you have a bigger talent pool. There's 250 million people in Indonesia. I'm sure, we can do great things here. It's more than a lot of Asian countries. So what I'm saying is, I want to be that pioneer that, look, football's for everyone. And our motivation essentially is to better Indonesian football, through our voices and through what our experiences. So the main thing is just, I just want to have that voice that, whether you're any color, from any kind of background, that football should be something that you should want to do out of passion, and that you should be able to do.
Normally, I ask what will be your message to children and kids, but I want to ask you the opposite. What will be your message to parents of Indonesian Chinese background in order to pursue the dreams of their children?
I want to say that, look, I feel I can still offer more in my career. I feel I'm not there yet. I'm always critical about myself. I want to achieve more in my career, but it is possible for a Chinese Indonesian to play football. It is possible, and it is possible to be accepted. I mean, in the end, for me, I feel I've gotten a lot of respect from my peers also, having played, but of course, it's with hard work. You have to prove yourself more maybe than other players, but which is fine. It's that challenge, but it is possible. So, and football is a real job. You can actually do good out of playing football, not just economically, but to actually have an impact in the society, in the country, for good. And my message to them is that if your son or even daughter loves football, please let them pursue it, because when you have that passion, when you have that heart for something you love, you're gonna work harder, and you're gonna want it more than doing something that maybe you're forced to do. Exactly. So, and it's possible. It's possible to be a successful football player as a Chinese Indonesian. So, for me,
nice.
My message is just that: keep dreaming, and it's possible. Anything is possible as long as you want to work for it and you have faith.
Amazing. I think that should be a very powerful message to families, to children. You as a child, I think, was very privileged as well. You went to Europe. You've been playing in European clubs in your early career. How did that came? How did you go to those clubs?
So basically, I was in a football academy in Jakarta. It was called Asian Soccer Academy last time. I think there were some players that came from there. Ruji was there for a while, Shamsir Alam. But anyways, the coach there was an English guy, and he sent some of the players on trial actually to England. So in one trial game, I actually played very well. You know, surprised myself there. I'm not a goal scorer, but I scored a goal somehow. And there was a Man United scout. I remember that came actually to my parents, because my parents came along to watch me play, and they said, "Look, your boy has potential, but obviously you'd have to move here for him to pursue his career, or wait till he's 16." Anyways, didn't really think much of it, because my parents were still. That was the first time I think they opened their eyes, but I think they were still hesitant because they were never going to move there, right? I mean, they have their life here in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Long story short, I think when I was 16, I made a decision, and I told them, "Look, I want to do this. I want to pursue my career in football, because for me, you know, there's not many kids with that opportunity to do so."
Exactly.
So when I was 16, I made that choice to go to England because of what the Man United scout said. I went to school there, and then I trained with the Man United Academy. But again, is an obstacle. It was a big problem, because actually in England, it's almost impossible for an Indonesian player to play because of the work permit. So they have their own rules, the FA rules, that your country has to be in the top 70 of the FIFA rankings or not. I think you have to play at least 70% of the international games. But obviously I was 16 then. I haven't played for the national team, you know, and I'm Indonesian. So I couldn't sign for Man United, but I was allowed to play the friendly games. So in one friendly game, actually, I played quite well. I remember it was against Burnley, and then there was one agent, a Dutch guy actually, one Dutch agent came to me and said, "Look, are you playing for Man United?" Because you know, he's just asking me questions because I was the only Asian kid essentially. And then he said, "I like the way you play, you know." I said, and I told him my problem was basically in England. So he said, "Look, but you know, it's possible for you to maybe play in Spain. You know, I live there, I work there." Long story short, he brought me to Spain. I trialed with a couple of clubs actually, you know, Espanyol being one of them, you know, and well, there was one club that didn't sign me. I don't think I did well in the trial. Another club did sign me, didn't want me, and then there was Espanyol, who I actually trialed for the most time. It was like a month trial, so that was also difficult with being uncertain and everything. But I just finished my A levels in school, which is like high school, so okay, I had time. And finally, they offered me a contract to play there. So then that's when my career kind of you know took off in that sense. That's essentially that is
the long story.
The long story.
What did you learn most about your time in Europe?
For me, you know, what I learned most is that essentially I know more about European football than Indonesian football, because I was basically brought up there, played there first. You know, before then I never played professionally in Indonesia. Never played for the under-19 national team. Nothing. Just purely from Europe straight away. So, but what I learned there is, even in Europe, what I learned in Spain and Belgium are all very different, because even in Europe, there's different brands of football. You would know, you know, you played in Scotland, you know, you played in England also. Even Scottish and English football might be different, you know what I mean? And that's so, but I think what I learned more is that aside from the, you know, the technical things, the tactics and everything, it's more that the way the players manage themselves, the way their attitudes are towards things, you know, how they bring themselves up as football players, with that confidence, with that charisma, and not just that, living as a professional football player. That's what I learned most, how they took care of their health, you know, having enough rest, eating right, their game day rituals before a game, even the little details with like, okay, from now, the night before a game, I would carb load. That's something that I had to learn myself too, because essentially I never learned that how to eat properly and how to eat as an athlete in Indonesia before. So it was more off the field stuff that I've learned actually being in Europe, you know. And that's why, I mean, like, you came from Europe, and for me, you're one of the most professional players I know. How you take care of your body, how you give that extra effort to train, you know, even with your rest time. So I mean, you've learned this because you played there, and I think that's what I've kind of learned also coming back to Indonesia.
Nice. And if you look back on the time you are 16, you move abroad. It's not really common in Indonesia for a young football player to move abroad at a young age. It's not even common that the Indonesian football will move abroad at all during their career. Maybe a few will do. It's for me, it's going out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
And I think going out of your comfort zone is not something a lot of people willing to do.
Yeah.
Because they will go to the unknown. They will go to some place they don't know about. What makes the not living in your comfort zone benefit to your life?
For me, based on personal experience, of course, when you're at that level of your comfort zone, like you're saying, and you're comfortable, you're never going to improve. Because what makes you improve is the hardships, the obstacles, when you actually push yourself. So, you know, for me, the best thing that could ever happen to me is going to Europe. I learned how to be more independent. You know, I learned how to suffer, you know, not knowing the language, for example, in Spain, having even to learn to cook from YouTube. All these things.
Nice one.
Not just
Nasi goreng? Nasi goreng in Spain?
Pasta. I actually just made pasta. I didn't even know. Believe me, Mark. I mean, like, you know, in Indonesia, sometimes we have helpers and everything to cook for us. But, and even my parents, you know, my mom would cook for me here, but I would never cook in my life. But having to go there, even cooking pasta, I didn't know how to do it. But it's not just improving yourself as a football player, but it's all these life skills that you learn, you know, from out of your comfort zone. And for me, I think you always have to challenge yourself. The moment you're stagnant and you feel comfortable is when you have to change something up. If not, you're not going to improve. You're going to stay in that level. So, I mean, my advice for young players in Indonesia is that if you have the talent or you have the capacity to play in Europe, go for it. Because this dream is every kid's dream. It doesn't come, you know, it maybe doesn't come at all. But if you even have that slight opportunity, go for it. And believe me, even if you don't succeed in Europe, when you come back, you're going to be that much of a better player and you're going to have all this knowledge to play in an Indonesian league. But even simple thing for you, I felt like in PSM, you did everything you could have done, you know? You did great, everything. But that last year, you were just in your comfort zone. You know, you're enjoying yourself because you were like a king there. That's the thing. But I thought you moving to Persija is the perfect move. I'm not saying Persija is a bigger club than PSM, you know? I can never say that. In Indonesia, I think a lot of clubs are equals, but you know, you wanna start from, well, I'm not gonna say start from zero again, but you do have to build your name again around your new teammates and everything. And for me, you know, that's made you a better player, you know, and you know, you're still young too. You're not old by all means. So I think what you did there is amazing. And I don't know. Do you feel like you've improved more playing in Persija because you're out of that comfort zone? You have to start from, you have to, you know, prove yourself again. You have to work double again. So for me, you know, as a player, I think you would always want to challenge yourself and
exactly
comfort zone to be better, to improve. You know.
What made you come back to Indonesia after your European time?
So you know, when I was in Belgium, it was my second year actually. First year coming to the second year, I had a big injury. I tore my quadricep tendon playing one game there, and there was I think 4 more games left to the season. You know, I want to get my chances. If I get to play, I want to play, of course, you know, like as any young football player does. So I decided to take cortisone shots, injections, and I took 4 before every game.
Wow.
And I think, you know, I think the normal thing to do is I think you can only take 2 cortisone shots the entire season. But anyways, essentially coursone is just a painkiller. It doesn't actually heal the injury. And so yeah, I went through every game. I got through the games, but I couldn't walk and couldn't train after the games. Summer came, finished those 4 games. Then summer came, I just did my rehab. I relaxed. I didn't do anything. Coming back to preseason, that year, I didn't feel right. I didn't feel right at all. You know, when I moved, like I felt slower. I felt something stuck in my hip. I couldn't move. Took an MRI. My quadricep tendon healed, but I had essentially what's called a calcification because of the cortisone shot. So a calcification is basically like an extra bone that grew in my hip.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had to have that operation. It's not a big operation, but the thing is that because it was so deep inside that they had to cut a chunk of muscle out, right? So I have to build that from scratch again. So essentially I was predicted to be out for 6 months, more or less. Okay. And I was still under contract in the Belgium team. Actually, they actually asked me to resign a new contract because I was also injured. So, you know, I think they felt obligated that they have to take care of me to get fit. But this might be one of the things that I've regret doing in my life. But again, no regrets, right? Move forward. But I was like, look, I'm in Europe to play football. I'm not here for vacation. if I can't do what I have to do, I'd rather be with my family in Indonesia. So I didn't sign that new contract. I chose to do my rehab in Indonesia. And yeah, basically since then, it was just a spiral of Indonesian teams, me playing there. But essentially, I would say that I feel mentally and physically ready this season. It took me, maybe physically, it took me a year to be normal again. But to get that psychological barrier, to feel as fast as you wanted to feel before, to feel not scared, I think that's the hardest part of having an operation after, is just that same player mentally here, going to challenges and I'm the type of player, I'm not the most technical player. I'm not a Messi by all means. I'm a hard worker, I have to press. I will do the hard work. I'll do your dirty work. I'll do the correct things. I'll give you 100%. And if I lose that side of me, I'm not a professional player. That's just the reality. That's just the reality of it. And I knew that, but then I had this hindrance of my injury. So mentally I wasn't there. So yeah, that's why I had I changed clubs a couple of times. I would say that I wasn't my best at all. But of course, as a football player, you're not going to say to a club that, oh, I'm not ready, because you want to play. You want to play. You want to. Of course.
But back in your head, you knew that. I knew during those years and times you wasn't really.
No, I knew.
Top fit.
No, I knew exactly. Especially mentally, I knew. Wasn't confident with what I was doing and everything. So, I would say this year in Sleman is the first year that I feel like, okay, you know what? I'm like the player I was in Europe. I feel fit. I feel strong again. I feel confident. So yeah, thank God for that too. It was a process, and maybe it took me too long, whereas other players would take it short. But everyone has their own time schedule.
Own time, true.
So yeah, that's how I came back.
What's your next plan? You said you feel good now. You feel strong again. You feel mentally really ready. You had a decent club, Sleman at the moment. What's your next plan, and what is your future plan?
For me, I'm happy at Sleman now. Before the league stopped, I got, I'm starting in the team. I feel comfortable in the team. I feel like I'm helping the team a lot, and also I have a coach that's confident with me. I think he's seen me for the player I am now finally, and so I like to take things day by day. But right now, I'm happy in Sleman. I'm going to take things game by game. Of course, you have your short-term and long-term goals, but I don't really want to think too far ahead right now. I want to, feel fit, keep healthy, enjoy myself, try to give the best for Sleman. So for me, my goal right now is just to focus on best Sleman and see. Well, I'm not gonna lie. If who doesn't want to play for the national team? Who doesn't? I think every player in Indonesia wants to, but I'm not thinking about that yet. I just want to take things one day at a time. First, I want to focus on Sleman, play good there. Have a lot of games under my belt, and see where things take me. So one day at a time. That's nice. My football plan. Yeah.
What's your biggest regret in football so far?
It would be that I think doing my rehab back in Indonesia. It wasn't that the rehab was bad, but it just closed that European door for me. It's difficult from when you close that and you come back to Indonesia. To go back there is not so easy. So maybe I would have liked, and I was still young, I would have liked a few more years in Europe to give more. Maybe that's my biggest regret in football right now. But, I believe that everything in life, is for a reason. I'm also very spiritual.
Exactly.
Spiritual. I mean, if I didn't come back also, I wouldn't have met people like you, I meet here and been able to do things that I want to do, especially with helping out, maybe with charity, having a voice. So, but that would essentially be my biggest footballing regret.
What is your biggest fear as a football player or human being?
My biggest fear, completely honest, I would say like right now is the same thing. It's playing bad, essentially. That is my biggest fear coming to every game. I play with confidence, but I always have butterflies before a game. But once that whistle starts, then I'm not nervous anymore. But essentially, I think that is the biggest fear for I'm not saying all footballers, I can't say that, but yeah, it's just playing bad. But of course, I have to overcome that mental blockage.
In your life, you experience a lot, as I may hear now, European, Indonesian journeys. What is your message to kids growing up in the same circumstances as you, and how to handle expectations?
For me, for the kids, that are, you know, similar to where I came from, I think first, if you love football, go for it, because you know what, you can be a football player. Whether you're Chinese, Indonesian, you come from a established background, and you love football, you still can do it, because you know I'm doing it right now. I'm living that life right now, and it's possible. But of course, don't think that it's gonna be given to you on a silver plate. Like a lot of things in life, you have to work for. You have to work hard, and you have to want to give that extra, extra work in to get where you want to get. That would be essentially my message. So for me, it's possible. Whether you're Chinese, Indonesian, don't ever think that you're a certain way and you can't do what you love to do or what you want to do, because you can. With hard work, that's possible. With faith and hard work, anything is possible, essentially. So
agree. Amen.
That's how I feel.
What is for you a modern football player nowadays?
A modern football player.
And do you feel like everyone should be a modern football player nowadays?
You know what? Actually, I do feel that. I think if you want to succeed in football nowadays, I think it's much more challenging and demanding than maybe before. So if you want to survive the modern game, you do have to become a modern football player. What I think you can get away with in more olden times, maybe with the lifestyle, with not eating so healthy. A lot of players before, they didn't eat so healthy. Maybe they weren't educated, not just in Indonesia, and in the whole world, they weren't really educated about it. I think back in England in the 80s, they were still smoking and everything. But now I think sports, not just football, sports in general, has become so competitive, and so every detail matters. I was just reading that LeBron James spent $1 million every year just on recovery. That's not on training. Just that little detail is so important, and there's things like, you're the best at this. I think you know more about this. Like with the recovery machines, there's like a sleeping pod even. So it's that competitive that any edge you can get, you want to get. So I think the modern day football player right now is talent is not enough. You have to give that. You have to have that Kobe Bryant mentality. You have to do everything possible to make football your lifestyle. So, I think what the modern football player has is that they know football is my lifestyle, off the field, on the field, and everything. And for me, it's more difficult to play football now than before. I mean, as you see in the Premier League now, sometimes I look and I'm like, man, even when I was in Europe, it wasn't like this. You see them running 90 minutes, working hard and everything, but maintaining that quality of the final ball, of the decision making. People think it's easy when they look at TV, but as football players, I was watching Leeds against Chelsea the other day. Yeah, Leeds United lost 3-1, but the way they worked was incredible. How Bielsa had his team, they were pressing for 90 minutes, without not tired. Kind of, I think not just because you're my friend, but I think you are the modern day football player. This is what a modern football player should like, off the field and on the field. You're a tireless worker, and off the field you take care of yourself so well. So I think we all can learn from each other. Even I learned from you, how you train, your attitude towards football in general, your healthy lifestyle, your rest. So I think you should always want to learn. To be a modern football player, you should always want to learn. Don't ever think that you know everything.
Do you think does that limit your life besides football as an entrepreneur while being playing, or do you think that should be possible as well?
For me, it's a hard question. That's a hard question. Of course, it limits your life because you do have to train every day, and recovery is important. Even if we only train 2-3 hours a day, we do need that type to rest. We can't be constantly thinking and everything, but it is possible if you do it the right way. And I feel that on the pitch is the most important, because essentially you are a professional football player. You get paid being a professional football player, but there are times where you can actually do other things outside of football. It's just how you manage your time. You do that the best too. Honestly, you do that very well. How to manage your time. And I feel as a modern day athlete, it's already very important to give back to the community. So I always feel like it's just me. This is an opinion, but being a good football player is not just enough for me. I want to actually have a voice in society and to actually give back to to the younger generation, or maybe even the older generation in general, to educate them more, to give back maybe financially. So and I see a lot of athletes doing that, and I feel like, I don't know, what do you think? Because for me, especially NBA players now, athletes are more than athletes now. They're not just public figures or athletes or professional athletes, they're political figures too. I mean, LeBron James with the Black Lives Matter, also he started that. He has a voice for this. So as long as you're using that voice for good, I think it's a great thing to do as well as an athlete.
I agree, totally agree, because I think when we are in the moment of being a public figure, which maybe not last forever your whole life, but when you are in the moment of being a public figure and you are fortunate enough to be that public figure, use it in the right way. Use it to do good for others, because a lot of people will never reach the moment they become a public figure. So use your voice and use your level in society maybe to do something back. And I think that's, for me, more than a football player, is to do something with your reputation. And that can be anything. That can be charity, but that can be more than. I think the most important is to follow your passion, because as football players, people look at us like kind of limited, like, oh, you are just that football player, and we judge you based on that 90 minutes on the pitch. And when you play bad that 90 minutes, that means you are a bad human being. That means you are a bad person.
Right.
That means you are a bad athlete. You are crap.
Yeah.
That's the perspective of people. And I think the most important is that once we step out of that ourselves, is to actually be a good human being 24/7. Despite if we play a bad game, that can happen.
Yeah.
But as long as we're happy with ourselves and happy to give back with whatever we can, I think we should be satisfied.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm 100% with you in that sense. I completely agree with everything you said there, because agreed, as a public figure, as a role model, if you have that voice, use it for good. Why not? Because not many people can do that. And knowing the world now, any good is needed. Any sort of small good gestures is needed in this world right now. So why not? And we are role models for the younger generation, because we're public figures, where we're icons in a way. They look up to us. Oh, Mark Klok, Persija player, everything. If you did something bad, they will follow it. They don't know what's right or wrong. They think whatever you do is the right thing to do. So the fact that even if you're doing great things, you're giving back to the community, they think it's cool automatically. They might not even think it's good yet, what you're doing, but you're setting an example for them to do, which is fantastic. I think this is what life is all about. For me, I'm a very religious guy. For me, there is one quote that I love. Football is a means to an end. Serving and glorifying God's name is the end goal. So essentially for me, it's that I love football. It's my passion, but the voice is what I really want, to actually inspire the younger generations and lead them to the right path, in a sense. So exactly like what you're doing. So we have to be role models also. That's where I think a lot of young players are still lack in this country, because they think, oh, we're a football player, automatically, we can do what we want. We're privileged, so they may be doing all these things that not necessarily a role model should be doing. And they don't know that they might think that they're just hurting themselves. But the repercussions is that the younger generation might see you do this and they might follow it. And it's a cycle. It's a constant, cycle. So the same thing, if you do it for good, it'll be a cycle for good too. So for us athletes, I think our message is that use your voice for something good, for something that you can give back to community, because the world will be a better place if everyone had that voice and used it for good.
Totally agree. Yeah. I have some rapid questions for you.
Cool.
So that is just fire back. Your first instinct.
Okay.
First one. Espanyol or Malaga?
Espanyol.
Secondary division or Belgian Pro League?
Belgian Pro League.
Surabaya or Jakarta?
Jakarta.
Dani Alves or Philip Lam?
Philip Lam.
Persebaya Surabaya atau Persija Jakarta?
Persija Jakarta.
What's your dream with Indonesia?
To win the IFF.
Trent Alexander-Arnold or Kyle Walker?
Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Arthur's Irawan best attribute?
Game understanding.
Injured or bench?
Bench.
Best Indonesian player?
Bambang Pamungkas.
Nice. Nice. That was my questions, bro.
Bro, very cool. Very cool. No, honestly, man, I generally enjoy doing this interview. You know, sometimes you do interviews for the sake of doing them, you know, but
yeah,
you know, bro, honestly, you got to do this more because it's also a platform where I can voice my voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sure.
And your questions are not the questions that generally they ask in public. You know what I mean? Because, you know that if you go to like the journalists and everything, they ask the same questions over and over again. What's your position? What do you think of this player? What do you and it gets so repetitive. And I don't think that, you know, anyone cares anymore. But this is essentially what matters. The questions you ask me, I loved it, bro. Honestly, I would say it's one of the best interviews that I ever did up there.
Thank you, bro, so much. Thank you so much. It's still new for me. I did a few now, I think 9, and every 2 weeks I will upload another one, and we will see where it goes. I think the main objective is just to inspire and to learn also from others. Yeah. And that other people can learn from us. I think that's the most important. Yeah. And for me, it's all about positivity. And I've experienced maybe in my career a lot of negativity as well. Yeah. And maybe at one point I reached the level that everything I really dreamed for became reality. Yeah. And everything starts to become positive. Yeah. But there are still people out there who are taking that for negative, or they hate, or they're wishing you bad because they want to see themselves above you. And for me, that's a no-go. I'm not that kind of person, and I wish everybody the best they can have in their life, honestly, from deep inside my heart. And that's why one of the things that I want to invite people who do good and to send that message abroad, because that inspires me more, and I think that inspires the next generation to do good.
Bro, nothing but respect for you, honestly. And I mean that, yeah? From the bottom of my heart, I mean that. Nothing but respect. So no, keep doing what you're doing, bro. I mean, not just on the field, you know. We know how good a player you are, but off the field, I think what you're doing is fantastic. So just please keep at it. I mean, it's
thanks.
You know, the fact that you become Indonesian, I think is so positive for this country itself. Not just for your footballing qualities, but what you give back to this country, you know. Because maybe, I'm not saying, I don't know, I'm not going to mention names, but some players, they become Indonesian, okay, just for the football, which is great, you know, that's what they're meant to do. But how you're giving back to the country is essentially what makes you more Indonesian than a lot of other Indonesian people. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, no, but nothing but respect, bro. Please keep at this. You know.
Thanks. Thanks.
Each other in Bali soon, hopefully.
Soon. You have any questions for me to finish?
No, I think, bro, you asked me all the right questions. You asked me all that, you know, I wanted to answer, essentially. So no, bro, it's great. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you for your time, bro, and I see you soon.
Brother. All right, thanks, bro. I'll see you soon, okay? God bless, bro. See you, bro.
See you, bro. Ciao.